Happiness is something we should not wait for. Happiness is something we could create. But how do we create happiness? Do we know its ingredients? Wait, I'll tell you something. I was 16 years old when the peaceful, prosperous life I was living was threatened with war and death. I lived in the 60s. My life started there, in Baghdad, in Iraq. My parents and the people around them the individuals were empowered to build. They were building schools, hospitals, art, philosophical debates were going around. This is how I lived. Empowered people who were doing. They had hope. I remember them singing John Lennon's song, Imagine. It was not a dream what they were living. They were inviting people from the outside, internationalism, and they were talking about world peace. 4 years later, I was in London, studying architecture. My parents had decided that we're going to study in England until the war is over. The war was never over. And I witnessed exactly those people, powerful, empowered, I witnessed them waiting. They were waiting for the news to tell them something. My father watched the television day and night, listened to the radio. My life in London was the continuity of the life I lived in Baghdad, where I was living in an international, peaceful, hopeful environment, and I wanted so much to share that with my father. But I couldn't. I watched, sadly, how my father was not the powerful person, but somebody who was waiting. Years later, I arrived to Berlin, and I started my life in Berlin. And I am somebody from childhood who was fascinated with time. I like to visualize time. Time for me is my passion, which I later on made it my profession. I created this object where, using the flame as this eternal symbol for time, to start it. It has birth, and then it branches into many, and then it goes down to 2, and then 1, and it finishes. I was so keen in telling this to everybody else, so I thought, okay then, I'll create a business out of this. There was nothing for this business available because nobody knew the product. There was no technology of multi-flame, no production established, so I had to do everything. And good as it was, I was doing it, I was achieving it, it was rewarding, it was incredibly happy to see that I was able to, but it was a big task, and I was overwhelmed. So no matter how happy I was, there was something wrong. I was unhappy. Because the people around me, my children, my family, they didn't have any much of my time. I couldn't give it. So I looked at the situation and I thought, I have to do something. And that's what I did. I used the same capacity where I envisioned my business. I looked at my life. My life has got a beginning and it has an end. And if I would live the ideal life, wouldn't I want to have happy moments until the very end? Well, that's what I said. And I started doing that. And at the beginning, when I was doing this, I was truly controlling my feelings, that when I faced a moment of anger, instead of going, I would just go, Or if I face a moment of fear, instead of going, I would just go, I started literally changing, first of all, my impression towards the moment. I started seeing it in another vision. Then I was asked to give a TEDx talk in 2010 in Berlin about this happy moments, and people afterwards kept on asking me, but hey, there are unhappy moments in life. Are you telling, you are fooling yourself here? Then I was being aware, I started becoming aware of what I was doing. In fact, little by little, it didn't come from one day to the other, I started practicing a methodology. And the method is, and I'll share it with you today. You see, you know when you go through a very hard moment and it takes time for this moment, the pain, and then it fades. And you know that at some point in the future, this time stretch, you get out of it and you're happy again. Now, most than often, this moment would have caused a happier moment. It would have caused something in your future. But we could only see that backwards. All what I did with my methodology is that I squeezed this time and I reduced it to that moment. And here we are, I'll give you the method. The method has got 3 keys: time, creative thinking, which is not really much. Don't tell me I'm not creative. You'll see that examples in life would feed your creativity, and storytelling. One very, very vital factor in order for this methodology to work, you will need the humans sharing in the moment. Because you will see now how I tell you in an example, you will need to use your storytelling to tell those people about the moment. So what I do is, I face a moment that is difficult, and I immediately, within that moment, force myself, instead of falling for, I reduce this bad luck, I reduce the superstition, okay, so, bad moment. I force myself into creating a vision that encompasses this moment within a bigger picture of time. Time is my profession. So, then I make sure that those people who are scared, exhausted, whatever they are, share it with them, and then it is more often than, it's not the future prediction that I did, but sometimes it hits and it looks like I'm a Wahrsagerin, which is like a future teller. And we would have our fun. So not only does the moment pass by, but we are having fun telling a story. So, the example is, I chose for you from my company. You see, when the company was expanding, I planned for larger production, and larger production meant getting lots of money from the bank, borrowing it, organizing it. We were a team of 6 people, and we were going ahead and doing the steps leading to this production, but one of the team members made a mistake, and it costed a lot of money. So here we are, my team members completely shocked, and looking at me, to my reaction, I was like, inside here, it was like, I don't know where to get the money from, but I said to them, hello, look at it this way. This is not a mistake. I thank you. This is a price we pay for a point in the future. It's not going to be far, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be big. We're going to be international. We did become later on international. That was one of my future predictions, but anyway, I was working for that. And then, if we would have made this, what you're calling a mistake, you have reminded us, there it would have been a disaster for us. The money we could find. I managed the money. My team was calm. We managed a production that was a big number for us, and only one year later, I was negotiating to get more financing with investors. And guess what was our biggest plus? They evaluated the team because it was the team that was something for the investors. I didn't know that. I mean, I was still new to the field of business making. So I added a value to my company because my team knew if they do any mistakes, then they know that we will work it out together. There is a way. Another value I added, which I did not know, which was actually the answer of my beginning, can I balance the two, my family and my business? I gained time. They were autonomous. I could depend on the people I'm working with, and they could make their decisions, and I could be with my family. So I moved from this example to the fact that the more I practiced this methodology, the more I realized something. There was something I did not calculate with. I started with happy moments, but I ended up gaining an insight into human connections. The more people I connected to, the more good relationship with them, my human universe, I started calling it the universe, started expanding. So the older I got, the more the time passes by, you know, I love visualizing time. I started seeing a universe that was expanding, that is made out of humans. And then one day I was watching a TEDx talk by Robert Waldinger. He is from Harvard University, a researcher. They did 75 years ago. It is a very rare study because it is hard for such study to continue over a lifespan. So they visualized time in a scientific way. They studied 724 men from teenagers till death and old age, and they collected all of the information about their lives. At the beginning, those men were seeking fame, they were seeking richness and hard work, but the data said that those human beings who managed to figure out to be connected to their society, to be connected to their family, to have good relationships, are the ones who were happier and healthier. All of this years and years of data from Harvard University was shrunken to one sentence: good relationships make us healthier and happier. And I was going, yeah, that's what I found out myself. So actually, meanwhile, my priorities because of that were changing, because I did not measure my time with how much fame I get or what I gain of it financially. I changed the way I deal with decision making. So it was connecting to humans. And we had 2 years ago this crisis where people seeking refuge coming, and there were so many people who were helpless, powerless, sad. They brought me to this time when I saw my father in not having the power, the energy to do anything. And I thought to myself, I'll go there, I'll help. And that's what I did. The first time, I must admit, the first couple of months, I was exhausted. I was drained. The people around me, the helpers, they were equally exhausted and helped because the concept was wrong. Then I reminded myself, no, it's not about helping, it is about empowering. So that's what I did. I started a program. I've been running this program since February 2016. I bring locals and the refugees together with the aid of music and songs, popular songs. We exchange stories. I brought them in my atelier. We called it the Time Academy. Once every week, once a week, 3 hours, I bring people together, and it was very entertaining for people, and I put them under my condition. And the condition I had, my methodology, which said, here we are not talking about pain, we are talking about the future. And I'll tell you, if each one of you knew the value of how beautiful it is for us to be here together. Hey, it was war what brought you, but we are now together and we could make something out of it. So both locals and the newcomers, they had an exchange. The music helped us, and then something incredible happened. Well, I added a little bit of touch of my creative, visionary, let's call it, storytelling. I said, if we just were here with pleasure, then we could change the future for our generations, and that peace will come all over the world, because all humans need for peace is that they are in the moment connected to each other happily, without hate. So that worked, and it was a joke between us, and many people really managed. From the locals, I must say, they were happily continuing with this communication. The refugees, they started learning the languages, and they were empowered. I have many stories that had happened. We became a community of more than 350, and many internationals. We became something, a word of mouth. People were telling about us, and it was spreading. We got people visiting us from outside Berlin. Another detail of this Harvard study, which was an extra bonus, which said those people with good relationships perceived pain in another way. They were, no matter how big pain was, they did not lose their happiness. And I have another proof. Just 2 weeks ago, I was in the S-Bahn. I mean, here it's embarrassing to tell how the accident happened, but I'll tell you, because it will help you, and that's why I'm here. I was in the shade of the shelter of the S-Bahn, walking, seeing that the train is coming in 6 minutes. The sun is shining after so many days of rain. So I walked towards the sun. The sun shone in my eyes. I closed them, continued walking, and boom, I fell in the track of the S-Bahn. So here I was, the train, I knew it was another 6 minutes. I looked at my leg, and it was only, my foot was connected to my leg with my brown skin. So I put it back together, and I called for help. The ambulance came, picked me up, the lovely people pulled me out of the track, and then I was in the hospital for 10 days. It was incredibly painful. But guess what? What I did all throughout that time, it became for me a nature. I connect to human beings. To all of you, by the way, I am enjoying your smiles, your lovely, attentive faces. It was like that. It was every second. The young people who lifted me up from the track, the lovely woman who received me, I learned that she's a Krankenschwester, a nurse, and the man who took me in the ambulance, he's 31 years old, he just found the partner of his life, and he now wants to make kids. The surgeon, the nurses, I can't stop telling you how beautiful it was. When I was leaving the hospital, they were saying to me, "It's beautiful having you around." I said, "Yeah, that was a lovely experience." I will finish up because my sign is that. I'll tell you. The conclusion is, if we had good connections, good relationships, then we are going to be happy and healthy. Nothing will measure it to us, only our capacity to view our life in a big image. If you had a bad connection, then you lose out on one of your ingredients of good relationship. But ideally, this is mama and papa. Ideally, as you grow, you keep your connections to human beings. You don't have to be every day seeing them, but just be kind, a smile on your face, and don't upset people. Don't let them upset you, because you can, and you know it is your ingredients. And if you reach to this symbol with all of those nets, then you are a healthy human being, and you are a happy one. And I wish you good luck.